Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 15th October 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TRSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic for discussion for today's video. Yesterday we started talking about case histories containing case histories which will authenticate the two terms usually used in analyzing the human psyche in the society. These two are called intelligence and cunning. The introductory part was made in my day before yesterday's video, and yesterday we talked about one particular case history which told her how a person behaves when her heart begins ruling her head, nevertheless or regardless of how intelligent or talented she may be. We gave some reasons for her behaving like this, saying that she had to go through several hungry nights, starvation, depravity, bad luck, losing her father, etc. in her childhood. We reasoned that these are circumstances that made her and her own younger sister so cunning and conniving. We tried to reason that that was precisely the reason why these two allowed their hearts to rule their head, thus making them cunning instead of intelligent. But here we conveniently forgot that they victimized their own two younger siblings too in this process, and we conveniently forgot that those two innocent girls would also have gone through the same type of deprivation, hunger, starvation, and losing their own father. Today, we shall discuss about one case history which will prove to us that a person's becoming a cunning guy or an intelligent guy has seldom anything to do with his or her background, especially whether he or she is from an affluent, a middle class, or a poor background. So let us begin with our case history. There was one teacher who was working in the city of Amritsar in the state of Punjab in India during the early 20s and 30s of the 20th century. This person had a middle class family with a couple of kids of his own. In the year 1942, on December 29th, one another son was born to him. This man's surname was Aurora, so he named or christened that baby as Jatin Aurora. This guy had another cousin who was coming out in leaps and bounds as a businessman in the commercial city of Bombay, now Mumbai, in the state of Maharashtra in India. This brother or cousin was a railway contractor who was making money hands over fist. But alas, this very rich man had no kids. So he approached the school teacher, Mr. Arora, in Amritsar and offered to adopt this newborn baby who had recently been christened as Jatin Arora. Arora had already a big family with a couple of children of his own. So this guy agreed to this under the pretext or hope that at least this newborn baby will get an affluent life. The life of this baby was going to change with this decision from his biological parents. Jatin Arora was adopted by that affluent cousin from Bombay. This cousin's surname was Khanna. So when this boy was adopted by that cousin and brought to Bombay, this boy suddenly became Jatin Khanna. As expected, this boy, who was the only son of this rich man, had an excellent upbringing as a child. He was now from an affluent family and hence he tended to forget or almost forget his own biological parents and brothers who were in Amritsar, Punjab, India. This boy was put in the best of schools Here, this guy was running around in gay abandon and having a very luxurious life as a child who was brought up with a golden spoon in his mouth. When one day, during a family gathering, this boy was told or he overheard that he had been adopted by this Khanna and that he was actually Aurora. In other words, this boy was Jatan Arora from Amritsar and not Jatan Khanna as he thought he would be. According to this guy, when he grew up, this news came as a shock to this guy, and this news turned out to be quite traumatic for his own innocent, childlike psyche. But this is an argument from this guy. How far it is true, nobody knows. But here we will take a detour. The two girls which we mentioned in our case history in the yesterday's video claimed that they became so cunning, conniving, vindictive, jealous, envious, etc., because of their own depravity in childhood. But here in today's video, this Jatan Arora turned Jatan Khanna had a very charmed upbringing as the only son of a filthy rich businessman. But this did not have any effect on this boy. Later, this guy claimed to have been very generous materialistically, but people who knew him thought otherwise. Anyway, this guy did his schooling, graduation, and then when he was in his late teens or early 20s, he joined a local theater group. This was the turning point in the life of this guy. This guy one day was rehearsing one of the plays along with the other artists of the play when one lady who was standing in the balcony was watching all this rehearsal. This woman was a very successful film star. Her name was Geeta Bali. This woman was extremely impressed with the very handsome looks and talents of this young man, and she suggested that this young man should join the films. Here, this guy got a tip that he could struggle to become an actor in the film industry. This guy began struggling to get roles in the film industry. However, unlike the other not so privileged guys who commuted in buses or walked on foot to the offices of the producers and directors of that period, this guy was so affluent that he already had a luxurious Impala car even before he landed a role in the film industry. He went on to claim loftily, I am probably the only struggler who struggled for roles in an Impala car. Such was the wealth and affluence of this guy. But how far this affluence affected this guy, we will know in this case history. Anyway, one day this guy went and participated in a talent contest and won the first prize in that acting talent contest organized by a film glossary called Film Fair. Here, five directors who were the members of the panel judging the talent were very famous directors who signed this young man for their own individual movies or future projects. The names of these guys were Shakti Samant, B.R. Chopra, Chetan Anand, and two other very famous directors and producers of that period. However, along with this guy, there was another candidate who won the same talent contest. He probably came second in that contest, with this guy being the first. We are not aware of whether it was because of this guy's sheer talent or because of his money and muscle power, but the fact remains that this guy became the first winner and the other guy the second winner. This second winner's name was Subhash Ghai. This guy came from a high middle class business family from New Delhi, India, where New Delhi is the capital of India. This guy's father was doing some business distributing and selling dental goods. Anyway, the father wanted this son to become an actor, so he collected some money from his own savings and paid for the fees for this guy's joining the Pune Film Institute and come out successfully as an actor from the Pune Film Institute course. Once that guy came out of that school as a graduate acting course candidate, he also participated in this talent contest and he and Jatan Khanna both won that particular contest or came as first and second in that contest. Now both of them began struggling. As I had mentioned, these guys had been signed as future actors in future projects of all the five directors who were members of that panel. One of them, called Shakti Samanta, was making a quickie called Aradhana in which he wanted to cast some new faces. He invited both these guys to play major roles in that particular film. Both of them went there. Both of them were selected for their own respective roles. A week or a few days passed. One day, this young man called Subhash Ghai got a message from Shakti Samanta, who, which claimed that this guy had his own role in the film drastically cut out, and that now he was reduced to being something of a junior artist in the same movie. Subhash Ghai, who had pinned his own hopes on this launch pad, was traumatized to say the least. He went almost mad and distraught with anger, frustration, and helplessness. He ran to the office of the same producer. When he entered the management or the conference room of that producer's office, he saw that the same Jatin Khanna was sitting opposite the same producer and smiling at it with a smirking face. Subhash Ghai was in for a shock. He could not understand what was happening. This producer called Shakti Samanta looked on sheepishly. After a few minutes, when Subhash Ghai inquired why such a drastic decision to cut down his role was taken by the famous producer director, that guy was interrupted by this superiority complex ridden Jatin Khanna and was audacious enough who was audacious enough to reply to Subhash Ghai, I purchased your own role for myself, along with the role which had already been offered to me. Instead of you and I being co stars in that movie, now I will play both the roles on a double role casting with you reduced to being just a mere junior artist in the movie. Subhash Ghai was extremely pained. He asked this Jatan Khanna, why did you do this or how did you do this? Jatan Khanna told him, you forget that I am a businessman's son. For me, everything is business. I know how to succeed in this hard film industry. I used my own father's immense will to purchase the two roles in the movie so that you are almost out of it while I am playing the double role. Subhash Ghai could not believe his ears. How low can one guy fall? Jatin Khanna had allowed his own vindictiveness, selfishness, greed, lust, jealousy, envy, and his own heart to rule his own head. And here, instead of showing his intelligence by allowing his head to rule his heart, this guy called Jatin Khanna had resorted to cunning by purchasing both the roles. Not only that, he was so sadistic that Jatin Khanna stared at Subhash Ghai and jeered. Have you ever tried to look at your face in the mirror? Trust me, I cannot see you in front of the camera. This Subhash guy almost fainted on listening to this sadistic and caustic comment from a person who till yesterday was his own friend. Jatan Khanna had betrayed Subhash Ghai, his own best friend, royally. And for this, Jatan Khanna had no remorse. Subhash Ghai was shocked and shattered. He did this role, but he did not wait for the premiere of the film. He went to his house or home in Delhi to forget all the traumatic incidents that he had to go during his own experience in the film industry in Bombay. He went home and joined his own father's dental goods business. Here he tried to forget his dark past and he became a salesman for his own father. After remaining there for a few months and or years, at the advice of his own father, he came back to Bombay to pick up the pieces. This movie, Arana, became a blockbuster and it made this Jatin Arora, now called Jatin Khanna and then Rajesh Khanna, to DC heights, and it made this guy a superstar overnight. More was to follow. This Rajesh Khanna became such a big and loved superstar that he gave 15 movies or blockbuster movies at a stretch, and he reached one spot which was till now untouched by any actor in the film industry. Subhash Ghai, on the other hand, took some training with a very famous writer in the film industry and then he started scripting for the film industry along with his own friend. At that time, this guy wrote many scripts as an unknown script writer. But that writer, his mentor, was decent and generous enough to allow these two boys to struggle on their own as writers. Subhash Ghai decided to eat humble pie. Even after being injured by Rajesh Khanna, he approached Rajesh Khanna and requested that because now he had become a superstar, he should help launch this Subhash Ghai as a writer in the film industry. He requested that Rajesh Khanna should work in one of this guy's scripts. Rajesh Khanna had become so big for his boots that he refused even to consider Subhash Ghai as a writer in the film industry. He, under some pretext or the other, avoided Subhash Ghai as a plague. Subhash Ghai again ate humble pie. Rajesh Khanna was allowing his own heart to rule his head and thus had become extremely cunning, whereas Subhash Ghai, despite his own bitter experiences, had allowed his own intelligence or head to rule his heart and thus remained an intelligent writer. And then one day, destiny or nemesis decided to intervene. There was another guy who was a classmate or schoolmate of the same Subhash guy in Pune Film Institute. His name was Shatrughan Sinha. Shatrughan Sinha, who was by now a superstar villain in the film industry, had decided to become a hero in the same film industry. When Subhash Ghai approached him, Shatrughan Sinha promised to work as a hero in Subhash Ghai's one of the future scripts. Subhash Ghai decided to write them and then with the complete script he approached Shatrughan Sinha. They approached a very well famous producer called NNCP and NNCP decided to produce a movie with Shatrughan Sinha as the hero and Subhash Ghai as the writer. Shatrughan Sinha suggested that this film must be directed by the same writer Subhash Ghai. Lo and behold, this movie became a jubilee hit and launched Shatrughan Sinha as a successful hero in the film industry. At the same time, the stars of the lofty Rajesh Khanna turned. His own movies began flopping left, right, and center, according to the same Rajesh Khanna, who accepted this defeat later in his life. After giving 15 blockbuster movies, this guy began giving only flop movies. While Rajesh Khanna was climbing down the ladder of success of the film industry, Subhash Ghai was slowly but steadily climbing up. There is a very famous proverb in the Bollywood film industry of Bombay. Be good to people on your way up because you are certainly going to meet them on your way down. The cunning Rajesh Khanna and the intelligent Subhash Ghai met when they reached the same rung in the ladder where Rajesh Khanna was coming down and Subhash Ghai was coming up. Rajesh Khanna was shameless and sadistic enough and cunning enough to ask Subhash Ghai, now that you have become a famous director and I am already a superstar, why don't you launch me in one of your films because I badly need a hit film for my own belt or one scalpel in my, scalp in my belt. That is I want another hit film to relaunch myself as the same superstar in the film industry. Subhash Kai preened, looked at Rajesh Khanna and jeered, kindly look at your handsome face on the mirror. Please find out whether you are the same good looking guy that you were 6 years ago. Trust me, that time was different. I was just an actor. But now I am a very successful writer and director. And as a director, I sincerely feel that I cannot see your handsome face in front of my own camera, just like you could not see my ugly face in front of Shakti Saman's camera 6 years ago. As they say, Nemesis grindeth slow, but it grindeth small. Nemesis had its own victory over one culprit once again. What you say or do comes back to you with interest according to our own spiritual and material philosophy in this society. This cunning Rajesh Khanna had shamelessly said that Subhash Kai was too ordinary looking to face the camera 6 years back. But now the same ordinary looking Subhash Kai, who had turned into a very famous director, told the same Rajesh Khanna that he did not find Rajesh Khanna's face interesting enough to face the camera. So both of them were even now. One had allowed his heart to rule his head, so success had come to him very fast, despite his being so cunning, whereas the other guy ate apple pie and allowed his own head to rule his heart and thus had come up in the film industry's ladder of success as a very intelligent producer, director, and writer. This shows to us how cunning and intelligence play games with each other perpetually and continuously, with one coming up at one time and the other coming up at the other. Many times, intelligence is victorious and cunning is defeated, whereas in some places, cunning is victorious and intelligence is defeated. However, the fact remains that intelligence succeeds in the long run and cunning fails in the long run. This is all I wanted to talk in this particular case history. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular case history. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may remind you of all my other videos, plus blend your own opinions with mine for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.